Eli had been waiting for this moment for months. The preparations for his solo road trip across the Martian desert were finally complete. His small rover, painted a dull orange to match the planet's surface, was packed with supplies. Water, dehydrated food, a toolkit, and a small telescope for stargazing at night. Everything had to be perfect after all. He wanted this journey to be about silence, thinking, and the beauty of an untouched world. He stood outside his small Martian habitat, staring at the vast red plains stretching endlessly. The sky above was a muted shade of pink, fading into the darker horizon where the sun barely peeked over distant ridges. It was quiet, peaceful, the kind of quiet that humans on Earth could never find. Eli smiled, feeling a thrill of anticipation. Finally, he would be alone with the planet. Just as he was about to step into the rover, a familiar voice called out, "Eli, wait!" He turned to see June, his next-door neighbor, jogging toward him. She waved excitedly, her helmet under one arm. "I heard about your trip." "I'm coming with you." Eli froze. "What?" "No, I mean, I wanted to go alone." "I planned this for months," June grinned. "I know, but come on. You can't explore Mars alone. You need someone to share it with. Think of all the things we could see together." Eli rubbed his temples. He had been counting on solitude, the quiet moments when only his thoughts would be around him. And now, June, ever energetic, ever curious, wanted to tag along. "I can't believe you just decided this," he said, trying to keep his tone calm. "I need time alone." "Time to think." June leaned against the rover, smiling patiently. "That's exactly why you need me. I don't talk much. I just notice things you might miss. You'll see, it'll be fun." Eli sighed. He knew June had a point. She had always been observant, quick to notice tiny details about the world. And somehow, whenever she was around, ordinary things felt extraordinary. Maybe she could make the trip better. "Maybe." "Fine," he said finally, after a long pause. "But only if you promise to follow my schedule. I have a plan." June saluted playfully. "Deal. Let's go." The rover's engines hummed as it lifted off from the colony's landing pad. Eli kept his eyes on the horizon, trying to adjust to the idea of not being alone. June, meanwhile, tapped on her small tablet, already mapping the route. She was full of energy, bouncing from observation to observation, excited about every ridge and crater they passed. Hours passed as the rover crossed the dunes. The red sands stretched like an ocean, rippling gently under the light Martian winds. Eli kept quiet, focusing on the landscape, while June pointed out patterns in the sand, tiny rock formations shaped by the wind, and strange colors in the distant cliffs. "Look at that ridge," June exclaimed. "The sunlight makes it glow differently than the rest. Isn't it beautiful?" Eli looked up. She was right. The light made the rocks shimmer with a golden tint. He smiled despite himself. "It is beautiful," he admitted. He tented that. By mid-afternoon, they reached a plateau overlooking a valley dotted with old research outposts. Many were abandoned, their structures silent reminders of previous attempts to explore Mars. Eli felt a twinge of sadness seeing them, so much effort left behind, forgotten. June, however, was fascinated. She started taking pictures, noting details of the buildings, and even speculating what might have happened to the scientists who had stayed there. Her curiosity was contagious, and Eli found himself telling her things he had noticed about the structures, things he hadn't even thought to write down in his log. As the sun began to set, the sky turned a deeper shade of crimson, blending into soft purple along the horizon. Eli parked the rover on a small ridge. He was about to set up his small camping area when June tugged at his sleeve. "Come look at this," she said, pointing at a line of strange dunes below. The wind was moving in a way that created soft, whistling sounds. It was faint at first, but as the sun dipped lower, the sound grew clearer. Eli leaned over the edge of the rover. I I've never noticed that before, he admitted. The wind was passing over small, crystal-like formations hidden in the sand. The noise was musical, almost like a melody carried by the wind. It made him feel both calm and excited at the same time. June laughed softly. See? This is why you need a travel partner. I notice things you might overlook when you're lost in thought. Eli couldn't argue. Together, they explored the dunes, carefully walking to avoid disturbing the formations. They recorded the sounds using June's equipment, experimenting with different ways of capturing the melody. Hours passed unnoticed. For the first time, Eli realized that this trip, originally meant to be solitary, was turning into a shared adventure, filled with wonder and discovery. Night fell, and the stars appeared like tiny diamonds scattered across the dark Martian sky. Eli set up the telescope, while June arranged a small solar-powered lantern near their campsite. The sky was so clear that even the faintest planets were visible. Eli pointed out constellations, ones humans had named long ago, while June identified unfamiliar patterns, imagining new constellations that could belong to Mars. I never thought I'd see Mars like this, Eli said quietly. It feels alive. June smiled. That's the planet talking to us. You just have to listen. They sat in silence for a while, sharing stories about life back on Earth, about dreams and hopes. Eli felt a sense of peace he hadn't anticipated. He realized that solitude had its own charm, but companionship, someone who shared your curiosity, made the experience richer. Eventually, they climbed into the rover to rest. Eli stared out at the red plains one last time before sleep, feeling grateful for the unexpected presence beside him. This was not the solo trip he had planned, but maybe it was exactly the trip he needed. As he drifted off, the whistling dunes sang softly in the night. And he knew that tomorrow would bring even more surprises, mysteries, and discoveries. Mars had a way of showing wonders to those who took the time to notice, and with June by his side, he would notice more than ever before. The morning sun broke over the horizon, painting the Martian sky in shades of pink and orange. Eli woke first, stepping out of the rover to stretch and breathe in the crisp, thin air. June was still asleep, curled up on the small cot she had set beside the rover. The desert was quiet except for the gentle hum of the wind over the dunes. It was peaceful, almost magical. And Eli smiled, feeling the calm settle into his chest. He wandered down toward the dunes they had discovered the night before. The wind carried a faint sound, soft and melodic, like a song played on invisible instruments. Eli bent down to examine the sand more closely. Tiny crystals glittered under the sunlight, their surfaces perfectly shaped to create the musical tones when the wind passed over them. He had never seen anything like this. June appeared behind him, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Morning," she said cheerfully. "Are you already exploring?" Eli nodded, pointing toward the shimmering dunes. "Look at this." "The wind? It makes music with the crystals." June crouched beside him, her eyes wide. "It's beautiful. Do you think it's natural?" Eli carefully touched one of the crystals, marveling at its smooth edges. "It has to be. But the way the sound changes depending on the angle of the wind. It's like the planet is playing an instrument just for us." June laughed softly. "Only you would think Mars has a sense of music." Eli smiled despite himself. "I guess I've always listened more than I've talked." Together, they began to explore the dunes. Eli noticed that some of the crystal formations were arranged in patterns, almost like they were part of a larger design. June, always curious, started taking notes and photographs, carefully marking the positions and shapes of the formations. Eli helped her, making sure they didn't disturb the fragile crystals. Hours passed as they mapped the area. The melody of the dunes changed constantly as the sun rose higher, shifting the angle of the wind. Sometimes the tones were high and tinkling, like tiny bells. Other times they were low and deep, like distant drums. The more they listened, the more Eli felt a sense of wonder he hadn't experienced in a long time. "Do you think anyone else has heard this?" June asked suddenly, looking up from her notes. Eli shook his head. "I don't think so. It's probably too far from the main colonies. Not many people travel this way. June smiled. Then it's our secret. Eli couldn't help but laugh. For the first time, he felt like he had a true companion in exploration. Someone who shared his curiosity and wonder. They continued moving through the dunes, carefully avoiding disturbing the crystals, until they reached a small ridge that overlooked a hidden valley. The valley was different from the surrounding desert. The sand here was darker, almost reddish-brown, and patches of ice glinted in the sunlight. Small streams of water trickled between the rocks, forming shallow pools. Eli's heart skipped a beat. Liquid water on Mars was rare, even in the form of tiny streams like this. This is incredible, he whispered. June was already running ahead, examining the pools with a small scanner she carried. It's not much, but it's definitely water, she said. And the ice. It looks like it's been forming here for a long time. This place is special. Eli nodded, taking out his own equipment. They began measuring the temperature of the water and analyzing the ice, careful not to disturb the fragile ecosystem. It was amazing to think that life could one day thrive here. That this hidden valley could become a vital resource for future explorers. As they worked, Eli noticed a faint glimmer at the far end of the valley. Look, he said, pointing. June squinted. Is that a structure? They carefully made their way toward it. The closer they got, the clearer it became. It wasn't natural. Smooth lines and geometric shapes indicated that something had been built here long ago. The structure was partially covered in sand, almost invisible from the ridge. But now it stood before them, shimmering faintly in the sunlight. Eli's curiosity surged. Do you think it's a research station? Or maybe an old habitat? June shook her head. I don't know. But it's definitely not human. The design, it's too precise. Too alien. Eli felt a thrill run through him. Discoveries like this were rare. Even on a planet humans had been exploring for decades. He glanced at June, who was already photographing the structure and scanning it with her tablet. Together, they approached cautiously, marveling at the intricate patterns etched into its surface. The structure seemed to hum faintly, almost like the dunes. Eli placed a hand on the smooth exterior. It's alive, in a way, he said softly. Not like a creature, but like it resonates with the planet. June nodded. It's like it's part of Mars itself. Maybe it was built to blend in, or even communicate with the environment. They spent hours studying the structure, documenting every detail. The alien material seemed to interact with light differently depending on the angle, glowing softly when touched. The more they observed, the more they realized how advanced it was. Whoever or whatever had built it had a deep understanding of the planet's natural forces. By the time the sun began to set, Eli and June had gathered a large amount of data. They retreated to the rover, excitedly discussing their findings. This is bigger than I imagined, Eli said, staring out at the valley. We might be the first humans to see this, June grinned. And we'll get to tell the colony. Imagine their faces when they see what we found. Eli laughed. I can't believe I almost did this alone. June nudged him playfully. See? It's better with a friend. They watched the sky turn deep red and then dark purple, stars beginning to shimmer above them. Eli set up the telescope again, pointing out familiar constellations, while June experimented with long-exposure photography, capturing the faint glow of the alien structure below. Do you think it's friendly? June asked quietly, almost to herself. Eli considered the question. I don't know, but I think it wants to be understood, not feared. It's part of Mars, like the dunes and the wind. June nodded thoughtfully. Then maybe we're lucky. We get to understand it first. As night fell completely, the two climbed into the rover to rest. Eli reflected on how different this trip had become from what he had planned. He had imagined long hours of solitude, silent walks through the desert, and time to think. Instead, He had found a partner who shared his curiosity. Someone who noticed things he hadn't even thought to see. And together, they had discovered something extraordinary, something that could change how humans understood Mars forever. Lying in the small rover, Eli listened to the faint whistling of the dunes outside, a melody that seemed to welcome them. June was asleep beside him, breathing softly, her tablet still glowing faintly with the day's discoveries. He realized that the universe was full of surprises, and sometimes, the best ones came not from being alone, but from sharing the journey with someone who cared about the world as much as you did. Tomorrow, they would explore the hidden valley in more detail, perhaps even enter the alien structure if it was safe. Eli felt a thrill of anticipation. Mars had revealed one of its secrets to them, and he knew there were countless more waiting to be discovered. He closed his eyes, letting the wind's music lull him into sleep. For the first time, he didn't regret having June with him. In fact, he knew that this shared journey would be far more memorable than any solo adventure he had ever imagined. Eli awoke to the soft glow of Martian dawn spilling over the dunes. The horizon was painted with colors he had never seen on Earth, pale pinks blending into orange and soft violet. The alien beauty of it always made him pause. But today, the thought of the hidden valley and the mysterious structure waiting for exploration made him feel a deeper excitement. June was already awake, crouched beside the rover, and examining the crystals they had discovered the previous day. She hummed softly, as if the dunes themselves had inspired a melody. Eli watched her for a moment, realizing that her enthusiasm made everything feel alive, more vibrant, more meaningful. "Morning," he said, walking toward her. June looked up and smiled. "Morning. Ready to see what's really in the valley?" Eli nodded. "Let's go." The rover hummed to life as they descended carefully into the hidden valley. The alien structure, partially covered with sand and ice, seemed even more extraordinary in the morning light. Its surfaces shimmered faintly, reflecting the soft sunrise, and the patterns etched into the walls glowed as if holding a secret. Eli parked the rover at a safe distance. "We should study it carefully. We don't know what we're dealing with." June nodded, taking out her scanning device. "Agreed. Let's start with the outside and work our way in." Armerson, they circled the structure, examining its intricate designs. The patterns were unlike anything they had seen before. Symmetrical shapes, flowing curves, and strange symbols that seemed almost like writing but were entirely alien. Eli ran his fingers lightly over one of the walls. The surface was cool and smooth, but there was a faint vibration, almost like it was responding to touch. "It's like it's alive," Eli whispered. June nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. "It's definitely intelligent. Whoever built this understood the planet's forces. Maybe it communicates in ways we don't understand yet." As they continued their study, the wind from the dunes carried the soft musical tones of the crystals. Eli noticed something curious. The hums seemed to grow louder and more complex near the structure. "Do you hear that?" he asked. June paused. "Yes. It's like the structure and the dunes are talking to each other." Eli felt a thrill of wonder. He had read about phenomena like this in human research resonance between natural formations and structures, but he had never experienced it firsthand. And now, standing with June, he was witnessing it with his own eyes. They spent hours recording sounds, taking photographs, and mapping every detail they could find. June experimented with her tablet, adjusting frequencies to see if they could replicate the melodies produced by the dunes. Eli watched, amazed at her ingenuity. He realized that her presence made every discovery feel larger, richer, and more meaningful. By midday, they decided to explore the inside of the structure. The entrance was a smooth archway, slightly hidden beneath a layer of sand. Eli pushed the sand aside carefully, and June followed him in. Inside, the structure was surprisingly spacious. The walls curved upward in elegant arcs, and light filtered through small crystalline openings in the ceiling. The air was still and cool, carrying a faint scent, almost like ozone mixed with minerals. "This is incredible," Eli murmured. "It's like a museum built by someone who loved Mars." June moved through the interior, scanning every surface. "Look at these patterns," she said, pointing at symbols etched into the walls. "They repeat, but with small variations. It's like a code, or a story." Eli crouched beside one set of symbols, trying to decipher their meaning. "Maybe it tells us something about the planet, or about whoever built this." They continued exploring, discovering small alcoves filled with crystal formations similar to those outside. Some even glowed faintly, resonating with the hums from the dunes. June carefully measured the frequencies, jotting down notes and observations. Hours passed, and the sun began to lower in the sky. The interior of the structure changed as the light shifted through the crystal openings, creating patterns on the walls that looked almost like dancing shadows. Eli and June paused, watching in silence. "It's like the structure was designed to show this," June said softly. "The shadows, the light. It's part of the experience." Eli nodded. "It's more than just a building. It's art, science, and communication, all in one." As evening approached, they decided to step outside and set up camp near the structure. Eli positioned the rover to catch the fading light, while June unpacked a small, portable telescope. The Martian sky turned deep red, then soft violet, and finally a dark, star-studded black. The stars shone with unusual clarity, and Eli could see faint colors in some of them that he had never noticed before. He pointed out constellations, both familiar and imagined, while June adjusted the telescope to explore distant planets and asteroids. "Look at that one," Eli said, pointing. "It's small, but see how it glows? Almost like it's alive." June leaned over the telescope. "Yes, I can see it too. It's beautiful." For hours, they observed the night sky, talking quietly about the planets, stars, and possibilities of life beyond Mars. Eli realized how much he had underestimated the joy of shared wonder. He had always thought solitude would make experiences more meaningful, but now he saw that curiosity could be amplified when shared. At one point, June leaned back and whispered, "Do you think there's more like this, hidden across Mars?" Eli smiled. "I hope so. It makes the planet feel alive, like it has secrets waiting for us to find them." They sat in silence for a while, letting the music of the dunes mix with the soft glow of the alien structure and the infinite stars above. Eli felt a profound connection to the planet, to the universe, and to the companion beside him. Eventually, the night grew colder, and they climbed into the rover to rest. Eli stared out at the valley one last time, watching the subtle glow of the crystals and the shimmering surface of the alien structure. He realized that this trip, once intended to be a simple solo adventure, had become a journey of discovery, companionship, and awe. As sleep claimed him, he felt a thrill of anticipation for tomorrow. The alien structure, the whispering dunes, and the starlit sky had shown him that Mars was full of wonders, some hidden, some waiting to be understood. And with June by his side, he knew that every discovery would be richer, every moment more memorable, and every secret more meaningful. He closed his eyes, listening to the gentle hums from the dunes outside. For the first time, he didn't want solitude. He wanted shared wonder, curiosity, and the joy of exploring the unknown together. Mars was alive. And so was the adventure he had found, not alone, but with a friend who shared his fascination for the universe. The next morning, Eli awoke to the soft warmth of the Martian sun spilling into the rover. June was already outside, her small scanner sweeping over the ice crystals they had discovered near the alien structure. She waved at him with a bright smile, her excitement impossible to miss. "Morning, Eli. Ready to see what's beyond the ridge?" she called. Eli stretched and rubbed his eyes. "Absolutely. Lead the way." They climbed out of the rover and moved toward the ridge that overlooked the valley. From above, the hidden oasis they had glimpsed yesterday seemed even more magical. Sunlight reflected off ice patches, tiny streams trickled through rocks, and delicate crystal formations glimmered in soft hues of red and gold. The valley felt alive, untouched by time, and Eli felt a thrill at being one of the first humans to set foot there. "Look at this," June whispered. It's like the planet hid a treasure just for us. Eli nodded. And we get to explore it carefully. Step by step, they descended slowly, careful not to disturb the fragile ecosystem. The ice beneath their feet was slippery in places, but Eli guided June through each step, laughing softly at her exaggerated caution. "We need to respect this place," he said. "It's special." June smiled. "I know. That's why we take our time." As they moved deeper into the valley, Eli noticed that the ice streams were forming small, natural pools. The water was clear and faintly blue, reflecting the sunlight in sparkling patterns. Tiny crystals lined the edges, resonating faintly with the distant dunes outside the valley. "It's like a hidden garden," Eli said softly. "Mars has its secrets, and this is one of them." June knelt beside one of the pools, carefully dipping a small sensor into the water. "The ice is ancient," she said. "And the water, it's clean, almost like it's been preserved for centuries. This could help future explorers survive here." Eli's mind raced with the possibilities. If this hidden oasis could sustain life, even temporarily, it might become a vital resource for research teams. He felt proud and humbled at being part of the first human discovery here. They spent hours moving through the valley, documenting every pool, ice formation, and crystal pattern. Eli couldn't help but marvel at how Mars, a planet many thought of as barren, could create something so intricate and beautiful. At one point, June called out excitedly, "Eli, come look at this." He rushed over to see a cluster of crystals growing in an unusual spiral pattern. When touched lightly, they vibrated and emitted faint musical tones, similar to the dunes. June recorded the data with her tablet, and Eli carefully observed the way the sunlight made the crystals glow. "It's like the planet is teaching us," Eli said, "showing us patterns, sounds, maybe even harmony." June nodded. "It's more than just science. It's art. Mars has its own creativity, and we're lucky to see it." As the day went on, they discovered more hidden wonders. Small patches of moss-like growth clinging to shaded rocks, tiny caves carved naturally by wind and ice, and crystalline bridges spanning shallow streams. Each discovery made their excitement grow. They were no longer just exploring, they were witnessing the magic of a living planet. By late afternoon, they reached a deeper section of the valley, where the ice formations grew taller and more intricate. One formation, in particular, caught Eli's attention. It resembled a small tower of interlocking crystals, each layer emitting a different tone when the wind passed through. June approached, scanning it carefully. "Eli, this is incredible. The resonance changes depending on which crystals are touched. It's like a natural instrument." Eli smiled, gently tapping one crystal. A soft, melodic sound filled the air, harmonizing perfectly with the faint hum of the dunes outside the valley. June joined him, creating a sequence of notes. Together, they made music with the planet itself. "Who knew Mars could sing?" Eli whispered. Laughing, June grinned. "It's more than that. It's showing us that it's alive, Eli. Not in the way we think of life, but in ways we can experience." As evening approached, they decided to set up a small campsite near the largest ice pool. The water reflected the crimson sky above, creating a mesmerizing scene. Eli set up the telescope while June prepared a portable lantern that emitted soft light without disturbing the delicate surroundings. The stars began to appear, one by one, in the clear Martian sky. Eli pointed out familiar constellations, while June focused on distant planets and asteroids, adjusting the telescope to capture their faint glow. "Do you ever think about how many secrets the universe holds?" June asked quietly, her eyes reflecting the stars. Eli thought for a moment. "Every planet, every star, probably millions of things we haven't discovered yet. And now, we're part of that. We get to see what others might never see." June smiled softly. "I'm glad I came with you." Eli looked at her, realizing how much her presence had changed his experience. He had started this journey seeking solitude, but now he understood that shared discovery could be even more fulfilling. Me too, he said honestly. I wouldn't trade this for anything. As the night grew colder, they huddled near the lantern, listening to the gentle hums of the crystals and the faint whispers of the wind across the dunes. Eli felt a profound sense of connection to the planet, to the universe, and to the companion beside him. I wonder if anyone else will ever find this place, June said softly. Eli shook his head. Maybe not. And that's why it's special. Mars saved it for us. Or maybe we were lucky enough to be ready to see it. They lay back on the soft Martian sand, staring up at the sky. The stars seemed closer here, sharper and more vibrant than anywhere on Earth. Eli felt a deep sense of peace, realizing that exploration was not just about reaching new places, it was about experiencing wonder, curiosity, and the beauty of the unknown. He closed his eyes, listening to the subtle music of the valley, the flowing streams, the wind over the crystals, and the hum of the dunes in the distance. For the first time, he didn't crave solitude. He wanted shared discovery, the thrill of exploration, and the joy of learning with someone who understood the world as he did. Tomorrow, they would continue exploring the hidden oasis, mapping every detail and studying the mysterious crystal formations. Eli felt a surge of excitement. Mars had more secrets, and he knew that together with June, they could uncover them all. He drifted into sleep, feeling safe, inspired, and connected to the living planet around him. The hidden oasis was more than just water and ice. It was a symbol of wonder, patience, and the endless possibilities of the universe. And in the quiet of the Martian night, Eli realized that the adventure he thought would be a solo journey had turned into something far greater. A shared experience of discovery, beauty, and life itself. The next morning, Eli awoke to a soft, pale light spilling over the hidden oasis. The Martian dawn painted the valley in gentle shades of pink, orange, and gold, reflecting on the crystal formations and the still pools of water. Eli could hear the faint hums from the dunes beyond, a delicate melody that felt like a greeting from the planet itself. June was already awake, kneeling beside one of the pools, carefully examining the ice formations. She looked up and smiled at Eli. "Morning. The light today is incredible. Come see." Eli stepped out of the rover and joined her. Sunlight streamed through the crystal towers they had discovered the day before, casting long, shimmering patterns across the valley floor. The reflections danced across the water like a slow, moving painting. For a moment, Eli simply stood and watched, letting the beauty of Mars wash over him. "Every day feels different here," he said quietly. "The planet keeps changing, even when nothing seems to move." June nodded. "It's alive, Eli. Not in the way we think of life, but in ways we can see and feel. And it shares its secrets if we pay attention." Eli smiled. He remembered how he had started this journey, wanting solitude, craving silence and space to think. Yet now, after days of exploring with June, he realized that companionship had not taken away from the experience, it had amplified it. Together, they had seen, heard, and understood things neither of them could have discovered alone. After a light breakfast of rehydrated food and warm drinks, they decided to explore the far end of the valley. Yesterday, they had glimpsed a narrow canyon partially hidden behind a ridge. Eli had a feeling there might be something extraordinary waiting for them there. "This way," he said, leading the rover carefully over the ice-lined rocks. June followed, scanning the surroundings with her portable device. "I can't believe how much lifelike activity there is here. Even the wind seems to participate in creating music." They reached the canyon, where sunlight barely touched the ground. The walls were lined with crystals and mineral deposits that glimmered faintly in the shadow. A small stream ran through the canyon, feeding into a natural pool at its base. As they approached, Eli noticed faint carvings on the canyon walls, similar to the symbols on the alien structure, but much older and partially eroded. "Look at this," he whispered. June crouched to examine the markings. "These are patterns, like stories. Maybe the planet itself, or whoever built the structures, used this place to communicate, just like the structures we saw." Eli traced the lines with his fingers. "It's incredible. Whoever left this here, they wanted someone to understand it, to see the beauty of Mars, and learn from it. They spent hours carefully studying the canyon, recording sounds, photographing the carvings, and noting patterns in the crystals. Every step revealed more wonders: the way light bent through crystals, the soft hums that seemed to harmonize with the water, and the subtle movement of tiny mineral flakes that shimmered like dust in sunlight. As the afternoon passed, they returned to the hidden oasis, carrying their samples and data. Eli set up the telescope to observe a distant asteroid that had caught their attention days earlier. June adjusted her camera for long-exposure photography, capturing the faint glow of distant planets. "Look at that," June whispered. "Do you see how it pulses? Almost like it's responding to us." Eli watched through the telescope. Indeed, the asteroid emitted faint, rhythmic flashes. Maybe it's just natural, but it feels alive, doesn't it? June nodded. Mars, the dunes, the oasis, everything we've seen here is connected. It's all part of a bigger system. The universe has patterns, Eli, and we're lucky to witness them. Eli realized she was right. The journey had taught him more than just the geography of Mars. It had shown him the harmony and subtle life of a planet that many considered barren. He felt a sense of gratitude for being part of it. As evening approached, the two set up a small camp near the largest crystal pool. The Martian sky shifted from soft orange to deep crimson. Then, into the rich darkness of night, stars glittered like scattered diamonds, and the soft hum of the oasis crystals created a natural music that seemed to celebrate their discoveries. June leaned back, her eyes reflecting the stars. "I never imagined Mars could feel this alive. I thought it would be lonely, cold, silent. But it's magical." Eli smiled. "It is. And I wouldn't have known it without you. I thought I needed solitude, but it turns out sharing the journey makes it better, more meaningful." June nudged him playfully. "Told you." They laughed softly, enjoying the quiet companionship. After a while, they fell into a comfortable silence, watching the interplay of stars, crystals, and water. Eli felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years. The adventure had changed him. It had shifted his perspective on exploration, companionship, and the simple joys of noticing the world around him. At one point, Eli spoke softly. "You know, I thought this trip was about me, about being alone. But now I realize, the planet has its own way of teaching us. It wants us to see it, to experience it, to connect. And sometimes, it sends someone like you to share that with us." June smiled. "I think Mars has a sense of timing, too. It brings people together when the moment is right. And right now, we're exactly where we're supposed to be." As night deepened, they took one last walk around the oasis, observing the reflections in the pools, listening to the hums, and feeling the gentle wind against their helmets. Every detail seemed meaningful, the way a crystal caught the moonlight, the patterns of sand shifting in the distance, and the faint echo of wind over the distant dunes. Finally, they returned to the rover to rest. Eli lay back, staring out at the Martian sky. He felt a deep sense of connection to the planet, to the universe, and to June, who had become more than a companion. She was a witness to the same wonder, a partner in understanding the subtle life of Mars. "Tomorrow," June said softly as she closed her eyes, "we go back, but we'll carry this with us. Every note, every reflection, every discovery. It will stay with us." Eli nodded, smiling. "And maybe we'll come back one day. Mars has so many secrets. I want to see them all." Sleep came slowly, filled with dreams of shimmering crystals, musical dunes, and endless starry skies. Eli dreamed of discovery, companionship, and the quiet wisdom of a planet that had welcomed them into its hidden world. When morning finally arrived, they packed the rover and prepared to return to the colony. The hidden oasis glimmered in the soft dawn light, A private paradise that few humans would ever see. Eli glanced at June, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for coming with me. For everything." June smiled. "No, thank you. For showing me how amazing a planet can be if you just pay attention. And for letting me be part of this adventure." They climbed into the rover and began the slow journey back across the dunes, carrying data, samples, and memories that would last a lifetime. The hum of the dunes followed them, the wind carrying the subtle melodies of crystals and sand. Every glance at the horizon reminded them of the quiet majesty of Mars, a planet that had given them wonder, discovery, and connection. As the colony came into view, Eli realized how much he had changed. The solo trip he had dreamed of had become a shared adventure, richer and more meaningful than he could have imagined. Mars had shown him that exploration was not just about seeing new places, it was about curiosity, connection, and the joy of discovering the unknown together. June turned to him with a grin. "So, same time next year?" Eli laughed. "Definitely. But next time, maybe we bring more people. Mars has so many secrets to share, and it's more fun when you can share them with someone else." They returned to the colony, their hearts full, their minds brimming with ideas, and their spirits lifted by the wonders of a world that few humans had truly seen. Mars had given them more than landscapes and science. It had given them music, art, and a profound sense of connection to the universe. And as they settled back into the familiar routines of the colony, Eli knew one thing for certain. The journey had changed him forever. Solitude was valuable, yes, but the greatest discoveries, whether on a planet, in the stars, or within oneself, were amplified when shared. Mars had shared its secrets with them, and together, they had listened.